All right. We are live. Welcome to another Tech Tuesday. Michael and Israel here from Bucks Island. I see a couple of folks in with us. As always, if you've got questions, we'd rather answer your questions than, just talk about stuff. I do have a few that I pulled. One that looks like a doozy. Might be kind of an interesting conversation.
I like those. I like doozies.
It's certainly not a great scenario, but I guess I'll start out with I'm gonna, if you guys are a bass guy and you like skeeters, went out and shot a video on the brand new ZXR 19, which is a new 19-foot 10-inch boat with a 225 from Skeeter. That I think
I need to take it out and take it for a ride.
Yeah, it was. There was a lot of good feedback, and it was good. It's a good boat.
Yeah.
I kind of hate to say like surprisingly so, but sometimes you judge a book.
Anytime you get something new, you don't know.
Yeah. And of course everybody's skeptical, I guess, but no, it's good. I was impressed. So we'll get that video out as quick as we can for those of you that might be interested. But very comfortable. It's a good boat. So excited to see what people think of it when they come see it. But it's kind of the little brother to the big ZXRs. So,
there you go.
But hey, anytime I can get on the water, I'm happy. So, anything going on in service?
Busy as usual. So running out of room.
Still boats cranking out on the rigging side.
Yep.
So, although it is nice to see, we got some good inventory coming into the showroom.
Got some more kayaks in today. Some links.
Yeah.
Seemed to be a big seller. We ran out and a bunch of people wanted them. We didn't have any. Now we got 10 of them. So if you need a links.
Great. That's that kayak. And I know we won't geek out on kayaks on Tech Tuesday too much, but I think it's like 46 pounds or 40 pounds without the pedal drive and the seat. You put it all on, it's like a 67-pound boat. I mean, you can. It's a good little, and it's
a small female can wheel it around.
And it's a good little performing boat. It is. It's a good second boat. I think it's a good first boat for folks, and it's certainly a good back.
And it could be, a good last boat. You never know if you're downsizing.
If it's good enough, it's a pretty sweet little setup. So I don't know. All right, we'll get off the kayaks.
Well, I did put Panoptics on my kayak.
Did you now?
You got to, right?
Well,
try it.
Hey, that's the thing. A lot of people that aren't paying attention to what's going on in the kayak world. They're not really seeing. I mean, guys,
I made a really cool mount for it to be able to use it, so I think you'd like it.
All right. Well,
I'll take some pictures of it and we'll post it.
We may have to do that
so people can see my.
We'll see if we get kayakers into the Tech Tuesday. The electronics is electronics, though. I mean,
it's technical.
Yeah. You got what battery are you using?
The small 12-volt impulse.
Okay.
I think it's 50 amp hour.
Yeah.
Fits right down. You got to pump it over.
That's a good one. A lot of guys trying to run the 23 amp hour batteries for a lot of those electronics, but 50.
But I figured if I was going to have two graphs on it,
it
might work.
All right, so we got to get a motor on your kayak. But it's tough. I mean, the pedal drive on the Hobie is just.
I just like easing them around, and it's like second nature now. I don't even know I'm doing it. So I like the exercise. Help me work off my gut.
All right. Well, guys. I'm not questions, please. We had a good run there a couple of weeks ago. A lot of questions about trolling motors and all that kind of stuff, guys. Whatever y'all want to talk about, but I'm gonna start us off and we'll see. But please don't. If you got something, chime in. Don't just sit there and watch. We'd love to be able to help you.
We know you're there.
Yeah. All right. So here's the doozy. So it came out yesterday morning. To this, anyone have anything like this happen to them? If so, what did you once you got it out of the water? As you can see, the starboard engine went partially under and it's out of the Yamaha group. The port engine may have gotten the bottom cylinders wet. They wanted to fire but not start. I poured Mr. Oil in each cylinder until I get back to it. Anything else I should do? I know this is not a boat that we typically would, but this sort of thing happens to.
Yeah, I've seen a few come in where actually a lot of times if there's an accident, like we've had people, during tournaments running, somebody be in the middle of the channel and it's foggy outside and they just run them over, and usually the boat capsizes, like dumps upside down. So I had to deal with a few of them. And the biggest thing is pickling the engine. So in your case, you've done the oil in the cylinder, so that's good. You go clear any water out, but probably start taking connectors apart and blowing it out. And if it's got salt water in it, it makes it even more tedious process because you got to get the salt out of it. As soon as you get electricity running through those wires, if there's salt water in them, it starts the process of electrolysis pretty much immediately, and doesn't take but a matter of minutes for it to start turning green. So and once you do that, then hopefully it didn't ruin any of the important like ECMs or PCMs and then CDI boxes and stuff like that, because some of the stuff it's made that if it gets moisture around it, it can drain out, but if you get water like permeated into it and completely engulfing it, especially if it's salt water, then you usually have to replace that component. So and then get her fired up and hope for the best. So I've seen many of them come out from the grave. So
I guess a good wash. Anything else in internal? I mean, I guess the electrics.
Yeah, the big thing is I would
would
if
you drain the fuel out and
yes, absolutely, yeah, and then and if it's a motor that like those look like regular oil injection where it puts it into the intake, but I would go another step further and go ahead and put a little bit the oil in the gas. That way you get a little bit of extra oil in the system that pushes that water, that moisture out of those cylinders. So because it's not only in the cylinders, it's going to be in the crankcase and it's going to be in between all the bearings. So and water, although can be a little bit of a lubricant, it's better than nothing at all.
Yeah,
it still can cause some extra wear if you don't treat it right. So.
Well, I certainly feel for I guess if you own boats long enough, you're probably going to have some pretty catastrophic issue. Hopefully, it's not anything nearly that bad.
But I'd be more concerned with all the wiring inside that boat at this point.
Yeah,
because it definitely doesn't like that.
Yeah, well, there's that size boat, saltwater side. There's no telling what all he's got electronics wise in there. But so all right, still guys, if you got a question, just drop it in the little comments there and let me know. We'll try and get it. I'm just checking real quick to make sure that everything's working. I'm not seeing questions. All right, so I guess it's over to me to bring up another. So we went off and we're going to see more and more of this as we get into the winter. But best fuel stabilizer. So it will be sitting for 2-3 months.
Most of the factories have a stabilizer, and they put a lot of money into developing that stuff. So my first go-to is going to be the Yamaha's brand. You have their fuel conditioner and stabilizer, which works really great. If you're using their Ring Free Plus, it's got some of that in it already. If you're storing it for long term, you would just add a little bit more of that to the system. Make sure you run it. That's the best way to get it up into the engine. If you just put it in the fuel tank, you're stabilizing the fuel in the fuel tank. You're not getting any in the engine. Mm-hmm. So what I tell people, if you're about to start storing your boat, the next few times you run it, go ahead and get that stuff in there. I prefer getting as much fuel out of the tank as possible, leaving about maybe an eighth of a tank at the most. That way, if you do have to pull fuel out, you don't have to pull a whole bunch of fuel out.
Gotcha.
And then you can move on. Other than that, Staybill, they make good stuff. They make a 360. And they make an actual stabilizer. Some of it's like an oil type substance that kind of sticks to everything and keeps it from corroding. The other stuff is actual 100% isopropyl alcohol with a little bit of oil in it as well. And what that does is actually keeps water moisture from separating from the fuel. So that's important if you're in a place that's got high humidity like Alabama. But it also will protect the fuel from degrading as fast. But any fuel you have, it starts degrading pretty much immediately. You get 3 months into it, it's pretty much no good. That's why I like to see people burn as much out as possible these days. And another good fuel treatment, I think, is what is that stuff? Is it Startron?
Startron.
Startron's pretty good.
So kind of along the same lines, this time of year, particularly for the rec guy, who's maybe been buying fuel from on the water, the marinas and stuff like that, is now kind of a good time. Obviously, some people are probably going to start pulling their boats out pretty quick, but some that'll kind of keep it in through December. Is now a good time to start considering maybe not buying the fuel from the marinas as much, maybe trying to get.
It depends on how much circulation they get. I mean, if they're still selling a lot of fuel, it's okay. And the other thing is around this time, probably maybe in October, they're going to start introducing the winter blend fuel.
Okay.
And in Alabama, if they do that too soon, then the boat runs like crap.
Gotcha.
So I'm not sure if the marinas are going to be getting that sooner or later at the same time, but
Gotcha.
it can cause some running issues, hard to start and stuff like that. So
well, and that's stuff I know we've.
I don't know. That doesn't really answer the question, but
it's a little. It does.
It's touch and go.
And I guess what I'm getting at is what we've talked about over and over again. That the whole every time something about ethanol comes up, is now probably a good time to kind of, as you mentioned, like planning on.
If it's been cold for a month, I wouldn't buy it.
Okay.
Yeah. Because we still got a lot of people that fish, bass boaters and duck boaters, duck guys and people like that are still going to be using their boats. But I would, get it as it's, from the gas station once it starts getting cold outside. And I don't know if the marina really sells gas in the winter. I don't know if Little Bridge does or not, if they shut down.
I don't know. I guess more what I'm getting at is, the question of, do you start planning now, for the recreational boater? You may be putting in your last tank now and you need to be thinking about that.
And the sooner, like if you're not going to use your boat for the rest of the winter or the rest of the summer, or I don't know if it's fall yet. It's officially fall.
Well, it's Alabama. I think we're in second spring, or we maybe in
third summer.
Second, yeah.
Anyway, so if you're not going to use it, or you plan on using it one more time, go ahead and start thinking about putting your stabilizer in it and going to run it. And then if you're going to get it winterized, start now. Don't start at October 31st, that weekend when it's going to probably freeze for everybody to come in at one time, because we try to prioritize that. Even though we're full right now, we try to help people out with that because we know it can be a detriment if you don't get it done. So.
All right, guys. Well, this is the last one that I've got. We'll see where this goes. Tilt trim circuit on 2006 F200 on a Hurricane. Where should I check next? Trim doesn't work. Trying to lower motor on the remote throttle. Motor goes up, down using switch on motor. Motor only goes up on remote throttle switch. When I jumper switch on remote throttle, same thing, only goes up and not down. Not sure where I should check next. Any ideas?
Well,
I kind of need to diagram out what he's saying in the up and
well,
down.
I get the idea of what he's doing. I would say if it's been an older F200, what I see a lot of times is at the very back where the wires go into the engine, that wire, you're turning your motor left and right constantly on a boat. And so if you take a clothes hanger and you do that, but you do it in a very confined place, it starts getting hot, burn your fingers a little bit, but eventually it's just going to snap in half.
Right.
Okay. So what I see on older engines, that's happened over and over and over again for the last, 15, 17 years. And eventually some of the wires in there are going to start breaking. They may not break completely, so you may finally get about 2 or 3 strands, and then suddenly it just burns 2 little wires left, and then it stops working. It'll still work on the engine because it's a different circuit. It's going to the same place, but the middle point is different.
Okay.
So typically it's going to be back there. If not, then what I hear a lot of people's like, well, my transducer went out. I had to run a new transducer, and they pulled some stuff through and ended up pulling the bullet connectors apart.
Gotcha.
So that's the other scenario that I see. I actually had a call a couple of weeks ago. A guy told me same thing happened. It would go up, it wouldn't go down. Worked on the engine. I was like, did you do anything else to the boat lately? Did it have a transducer go bad? He's like, matter of fact, that's when it happened. I pulled that transducer through, and now it stopped working. I didn't think about that being correlated. And I was like, well, he pulled a bullet connector or something loose in there. So, in some boats, it's easy to find that. Other boats, it's terrible. Yeah.
Well,
good luck.
Dive into that. Well, I guess it's going to be one of those quiet days. So I hope that means that everybody's boat is working beautifully and that they're having.
We've answered everyone's questions.
Yeah. Hey, there's no more boat issues out there. Or everybody's they've given up working on their own boat or something.
Their boat's here.
Their boat's here. So, well, guys, thanks for hanging out with us. And for those of y'all watching down the road, love to have you live. If you do have questions, something, even if you think that it's not a question, because I guess you were telling me the other day you had somebody that watches and like they'll send you a question and they're like, well, why didn't you just ask the question on Tech Tuesday? Like there really are no dumb questions. We've run the gamut. So.
And if there's a time that works better for a lot of people, y'all let us know.
Yeah, absolutely.
As long as you ask questions.
Yeah. All right, guys. We'll see you guys next week.